Heavyweight champion and prolific pitchman George Foreman said, "The question isn't at what age I want to retire, it's at what income." Before you turn in the keys to your office for good, you need to make sure you are prepared financially for life without a paycheck. So use this handy retirement preparedness checklist I'm about to give you to make sure you're ready. Here it comes. Step number 1, create personal financial statements. Many of you are going to be tempted to guess about how much money is required to retire. It isn't a guess, it's math, and you can't do the math unless you have the numbers in front of you. The free website mint.com, which I love, makes creating personal financial statements a snap. It helps you track all of your transactions. It categorizes them for you. All you have to deal with is the exceptions. Then go get the free template that you can use for your financial statements on our website at snideradvisors.com. That's spelled S-N-I-D-E-R. Once you have a personal income statement and balance sheet, then use your current expenses to project your expenses in retirement. And the closer to retirement you are, the more accurate those are going to be, obviously. Our template allows you to create side-by-side scenarios for today and retirement. Now, this is also the time for you to figure out what your sources of retirement income will be, how long they will last, and how much income is going to need to come from your investments. Here's step number 2. Insure the risks you can't afford to take. In my experience, the biggest holes in someone's retirement puzzle are often related to health care. Do not go into retirement underinsured. Improper planning for how you will fund health care costs, which are very significant and often underestimated, has the very real potential to wipe out an entire lifetime of work. So when you're thinking about this, the most important items for you to plan and budget for are private health insurance if you're under the age of 65, Medicare and Medicare supplement insurance if you're over age 65, and a good long-term care policy, with good being the key phrase there. Many of the clients that I work with will tend to have cash value life insurance policies that they bought early on in their lives when they needed them, but now that they're about to retire, they don't. And so often what we will recommend is that they use the built-up value in those unneeded policies to fund the necessary health care and long-term care insurance. That may or may not be the case for you, but it is a possible source of funds. Step number 3, get rid of all bad debt. In my book, How to Be the Family CFO, I break debt into bad debt and better debt. Better debt is debt that you use to buy an appreciating asset. Bad debt, everything else. So let me give you an example. Better debt would include your mortgage, your student loans for yourself, not for your kids, they're not an appreciating asset, and debt to buy a business or an investment. Bad debt is like everything else. Home equity loans, home improvement loans, car loans, department store loans, and definitely all that credit card debt. Make a plan to get rid of all of your bad debt before you retire. Step number 4, put away 12 months of expenses in an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is different than savings. Savings is to pay for non-recurring one-time expenses, like, for example, you need a new roof or you want to take a vacation. Emergency funds, on the other hand, serve one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to be a buffer when your income is disrupted. Now, when you're younger, disruption to your income generally means disruption to your paycheck, which could come from a number of things. It could result from disability or losing your job or maybe needing to take time off to care for a sick or aging family member. But once you retire, and you start living off of your investments, then those inevitable variations in the economy and financial markets will inevitably create variations in your retirement income. You plan for that. Your emergency fund will make those gyrations manageable, I promise. And for more on how to do that and how those things work together, there's an article that I wrote called How to Manage Stock Market Volatility in Retirement. I would strongly encourage you, if you have any questions about that, to check out that article on my blog. Here's step number 5. Create sufficient inflation-indexed income to cover your expenses. Whatever your expenses are in retirement, you must have enough cash flow from sources other than your job to cover those expenses indefinitely into the future. And for the average 65-year-old non-smoking couple, that means an average joint life expectancy of 30 years. But remember the thing about averages, right? It's just a big pile of numbers. You add them up and divide to find the one in the middle. Some of those numbers are over, others under. Another thing that you'll have to account for is the effects of inflation, which again, most people badly underestimate. Let me give you an example. We'll assume a 3.5% rate of inflation and a $100,000 lifestyle in today's dollars. 20 years from now, that $100,000 lifestyle will cost about double, or $206,000. Your biggest risk is not the fluctuations in the stock market or the economy, contrary to what everybody may think. It's living too long. And again, figuring out how much money you need so that you don't outlive your money is not a guess. Getting this wrong can be disastrous. So use the Financial Success Workbook available at SnyderAdvisors.com to calculate the assets that will be required to support your lifestyle, and don't retire until you have enough. Step number 6 is to diversify. At Snyder Advisors, because we just think about money different, we recommend what we call a waterfall approach to asset allocation. The first pool in the waterfall is the money in step 5, which is required to create the income that you need to support your lifestyle. That money's job is cash flow. Once you satisfy your cash flow needs, then and only then can you move on to other objectives. So another objective, for example, might be protecting against hyperinflation, which a lot of people are concerned about right now. In which case, the next pool in your waterfall would be a broad-based basket of commodities. Then, once you satisfy that objective, then you move down the waterfall to the next objective, which, let's just say for you, is owning an asset that's not related to the stock market. In that case, your next pool might be real estate. The idea is to start with the highest priority, which is almost always cash flow for your expenses, and then work your way down the priority list, rather than trying to do everything all at once and not having enough money to do anything effectively. The final step, step number 7, is what's left. We say after all those 6 steps, then you can pay off your house, pay off your kids, or pay for your kids' education, buy a second home, or give away the rest of your money if you want. What we're trying to say with this step is that these things, including your kids' education and paying off your home, are luxuries that come after you have built and paid for a solid retirement foundation.